Okay, hello. Today we are looking at a very simple lighting plan with four overhead lighting bars and two front of house lighting bars. And what we want to do is we want to take this plan and we want to patch it into a few different lighting programming softwares to see how that workflow goes. It's a relatively straightforward plan with a couple of moving wash fixtures, a couple of moving spot fixtures, and a few conventional profiles. You'll notice that when we go into the patching between the three different programs, some things are different, but some other things are very similar. The syntax and the terminology might differ slightly, but at the end of the day, we are working through the same steps to get to the same place. So let's go. Okay, so for today's drawing, we are looking at this lighting plan. So you can see that we have two front of house bars with source fall profiles, and we also have four overhead bars alternating between the Arten Ghibli and the Mac Aura XB. Okay, I've labeled all the different hanging positions. So these are LX 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is FOH 1 and 2. To make our life a little bit easier when we are preparing our stage view in the programming software, I want to do one extra step here, which is to add in a dimension tape. Okay, and I'm just gonna click over here. And I'm gonna make this tape at 16,000 millimeters and with a 1,000 millimeter distance between markings. I'm also going to make sure to mark from the center. Okay, so this lets me see where my lights are with reference to the x-axis. I also want to make sure that this guy is at the correct start point. So right in the middle. And I will also create one more tape on the side over here. Same thing is going to be 16,000 millimeters with a 1,000 millimeter in between. And let's just say that we put this about here. And at a height of 9,000. Okay, so that should give me a cleaner view of the X and Y positions of each fixture on the lighting plan. I'm gonna go over to my sheet layers and I'm gonna export this out into a PDF so that's easier to look at when I'm doing the patching. Okay, and there I have my PDF. You might want to have this as a printout or maybe pull it open as a PDF in another display somewhere if you're trying to follow along with what I'm doing. Okay, over in Grand MA2 onPC, when we open up the program for the first time, we'll be looking at this screen, and this is known as Screen 1 on Grand MA2 onPC. It's basically a representation of the keyboard programmer section on the desk, as well as the first small little touchscreen below the encoders. I found that working on screen 1 is probably not the best when on MA2 onPC. I prefer to work on screen 2, which is over here. The problem with this is MA seems to think that most windows are meant to open on screen 1. So you will need to explicitly go into the window and tell the window, hey, I want to open this on screen 2 instead. But we will address that when we get there. For now, since we are in screen 1, let's take a look at what else we have over here. We have buttons to access screen 2, 3, and 4 on the Grand MA2 full size. We have buttons to access the executor faders, and we have shortcuts for the external monitors. The other thing that you want to do while you're here is to turn on your shortcuts. And what this will do is it lets you use your keyboard keys, your physical keyboard, to toggle the buttons on the programmer section of the board. You can see those shortcuts inside the brackets under the buttons themselves. It will take a little bit of memorizing for you to get everything, but usually what I find is that when you have it turned on and you use certain keys frequently enough, they will commit to memory faster than you think. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the command overlay, which is over here, and we want to click on the setup button. So like I mentioned, this will open on screen 1. We can shift this over to screen 2 by clicking on this little monitor icon and clicking on screen 2. And then now that I have it on screen 2, I want to size this up to take up my full screen. And there we go. We have everything we need on screen 2 now. And we can now click on patch and fixture schedule to go into the fixture wizard. Okay, in here, if you are entering the patch and fixture schedule for the first time, MA will ask you to create a new layer. And there are two different ways to look at layers. One is by fixture types, and the other is by fixture positions. So if you're going by fixture types, then this lighting plan will have 3 different layers. One for the moving spots, one for the moving washers, and one for the conventional profiles. If you're working with larger rigs, however, it makes more sense to go by hanging positions because it becomes easier to troubleshoot when you have a larger number of fixtures on the rig. So in this case, I'm going to go with my 6 different hanging positions. So we will start with my first layer over here as LX1. When you come into the fixture wizard, click on From Library, and we're going to make sure that the drive is in the internal, and we're going to look for turn, fixture type, Ghibli. Okay, and you can see we have 3 different Ghibli types over here. We're going to go with the basic fixture mode, click on import, and now we can insert in things like the quantity, fixture ID, and patch break. We're going to skip this for now, but for this quantity and fixture ID, we will follow what is in the lighting plan and hit apply. And you can see over here that we now have 4 fixtures patched in according to what we see in the lighting plan. Once these fixtures are patched, we can drag and select the DMX patch over here and right click to assign a DMX universe and address. For us, this first fixture is going to be in universe 2 and it's going to be channel 1. And MA will try to cascade it down according to the fixture's DMX requirements. If you want to address them the other way around, you can just drag and select them from the bottom instead. If you want to unpatch them, you can drag and select all of them, right click to open up the DMX patch window, and just click on unpatch. We'll now switch over to the layer section over here and add another layer. We're going to add LX2, and from library, we're going to look for Martin MacAura, and you want to scroll down all the way to look for the MacAura XB standard RGB with a DMX footprint of 14 channels. Okay, importing this in, we're going to have a quantity of 5. Fixture ID will be 11, and we're going to leave the patch break empty for now. So once this comes into the patch schedule over here, we're going to drag and select. This is going to be address 3.1. And there we go. So now we have 2 different layers patched and ready to go. For LX3 and 4, same process, add layer, we're going to call it LX3. You'll notice that once you've patched the fixture in once, it becomes visible in your fixture wizard over here. So we can just select the Ghibli from here, insert a quantity of 5, and change the fixture ID over here to be 6. This should be blank, and just hit apply. And then that's when I realized that I actually am missing one more Ghibli over here. What you can do is actually just copy and paste the fixture, and it gives you one more fixture in the same layer. I want to drag and select all of these, go into Universe 2 and look for my next available address, which is 145. And then we want to add another layer for LX4. These are going to be auras, quantity of 5, fixture ID 16, and the patch break is 3.71. That's right. Okay, so with that we have 4 layers patched. A little bit messy over here, but we can just cut this and paste it over here to clean it up. Okay, for the front of house bar, we'll first create another layer. We're gonna call it FOH2. Because source 4 profiles are mostly all conventional dimmer profiles, unless you're working with the newer lusters, the regular dimmer profile that is in the fixture wizard by default is more than sufficient. So I'm going to select this guy, add in a quantity of 5 with a fixture ID of 21. I'm not assigning a channel ID, and my patch break is going to be 1.21. Okay, there we go. While we are here, we might as well also label these to be source for 19s. And we're gonna just copy the whole layer and paste the layer. We're gonna call this FOH1. And in here, we want to number these as 26 to 30. Patch break is going to be 1.26. So at this point, you realize that MA gives you 2 different ways of numbering your fixtures. They can be fixture IDs or they can be channel IDs. Which you use is ultimately up to you. But a common practice that I've seen is to use channel IDs for conventional fixtures and to use fixture IDs for intelligent fixtures. This varies from venue to venue. Ultimately, you gotta see what the practice of the space that you're working in is. If in doubt, some venues also practice assigning the same fixture and channel ID to every instrument in the rig, meaning fixture 21 would also be channel 21. There might be some complications with that, but again, see what the practice is wherever you're working at. Okay, with the layers complete, we can now move on to doing the fixture positions. One extra step in Grand MA2 is that you need to click on the little yellow cross and save the changes first. If you don't do this, when you go into the 3D stage view, you can't see the fixtures, and it becomes a little bit more difficult for you to do what you need to do. So always save the changes and exit out back into your setup menu first before going back into the patch and fixture schedule. In here, we want to click on fixture positions, and you will see that we are greeted with this adorable little stage view, and we are looking at layer 2 LX1. If you click and hold on this, you can see all the different layers that you have. We are going to start with LX1, so this is where we want to be. So I like to start with the Z-axis. This is what we call Cartesian coordinates. The Z-axis stands for your elevation. So in this case, if we look at the lighting plan that we have, you realize that everything has a trim of 7 meters. So that would mean that everything has a Z value of 7. I'm just going to drag and select all of these and set them at a height of 7. And you can see the light lifts up into the air. For the Y position, this LX1 is at a Y position of 1. And for the X position, which is a little bit more interesting, you can either click on each fixture and assign in an X position one at a time, or you can drag and select all of them, right click, and on this window you can use the plus and minus key to define a negative value or a positive value in the range of X values that you want to assign. So for LX1, my fixtures are spaced out between 4 and minus 4. Be sure to use this plus and minus key to emphasize a negative value and not the negative symbol over here. So hit enter and the lights space out neatly according to your lighting plan. We're going to do the same thing here for LX2. So I'm going to click once to toggle over to LX2. Starting with the Z-axis, it is 7. The Y-axis is at 3. And the X-axis is 5 through negative 5. There we go. Same thing for LX3. A Z height of 7, a Y of 5, and an X value of 6 through minus 6. And for the last overhead bar, Z value of 7, Y value of 5, Y value of 7 as well, and an X value of 5 through minus 5. So after doing that, if we were to exit the patch and fixture schedule and head back into our screen 2, if you were to open up a new window over here, you realize that wherever you click is where the window opens up to. So meaning if I were to click over here and say I want to open up a clock window, you get a cute little clock over here. If you click a little bit higher and you say you want to open up the same clock, the clock becomes a little bit bigger. Ultimately, if you click all the way in the top left hand corner, then MA will open up the window to the full size. What I want is I want to open up from others a stage view. And you can see in here that we have the lighting rig taking shape. If I want to store this as a usable view screen, I will click on my command overlay over here, click on store, and click on an empty view screen tile over here. MA will ask you which of your many different screens you want to store. In this case, it's screen 2, and I'm going to call this my stage view. So if for some reason you were to lose the window with whatever you're doing, you can recall that window like as though it's a safe snapshot. So with that taking shape, we're going to go back into the patch and fixture schedule and back into fixture positions, and we're going to look at the FOH layer. So this is FOH2, so it's at a height of 7 and a Y value of minus 6. And for the X value, it's the same thing, it's 5 through minus 5. But one thing that's different for the front of house bars is that they have a rotation to them. So this is a X rotation. So we're going to select all of these lights and just assign in a 35-degree rotation to tilt them up. Maybe 35 degrees might not be enough. Maybe we do 45 degrees. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, we're going to go over to FOH1 and set a Z position of 7, a Y position of -3, and an X position of 5 through -5. Same thing for the rotation. We want a rotation of maybe 45 degrees. Okay, too high. So that would mean that if I go back to my FOH2, I would want them to also be at 35 degrees for a slightly more even coverage. Okay, with all this done, we can go back into the stage view, and you realize that you have a relatively well put together rig. You can use the command bar over here to mess around with the settings a little bit. I'm gonna just put this over here. And a little bit to the side over here. Okay. And if you drag and select your fixtures from here, you can mess around with your intensities over here. It's not a very particularly spectacular stage view, but from the time that this was originally created, it is something better than nothing. If you were to use the keyboard to control your fixtures, for instance, if I were to take fixture 1 to 10, which is referencing my Ghiblis, you can go to full, and using your command bar over here, you can go to your color picker, go to your special dialog, you can pick a color, and it will respond the way you would expect it to. You can also click on the follow key over here and click on the stage to have the lights follow according to wherever you click. Of course, the follow for the pan and tilt only works if the fixture itself has the ability to pan and tilt. Okay, and the last thing that we could probably do here before we move on to the next program is we want to save the show. So you do that on the backup window, and over here you can just click on save show or save show as. If you have a thumb drive connected, you will see the thumb drive appear over here in the tabs, so that way you can assign the specific save location that you want your file to go to. So for me, I'm just going to save this in my internal drive. Just click on save and I'm good to go. So with that, we can go over to ETC EOS and repeat the whole process all over again. When you try to open ETC EOS for the first time, you will see this little Nomad shell window that pops open. Just click on offline with Viz and you'll have another pop-up that says that there's no real control parameters available in this version without the license key. Just say okay and move along. The program will open and you will be greeted with this window called the PSD, which stands for playback status display, and you'll also have this live table window, which is actually your channel display. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to click on this little monitor icon on the top left, and I'm going to split my screen into two columns. On the left, I'm going to leave my PSD and my live table. On the right, I'm going to open an augmented window. So this is ETC's visualizer program. There isn't anything to see on this just yet, but that's what we're gonna work towards fixing. Okay. We also want to open over here a virtual keyboard, and just to make things easier, also a ML controls tab. Okay. So there are a few ways to access the command overlay, as I call it, on ETC EOS. One is using this little pop-up on the top right hand corner, or you could just open a virtual keyboard window over here like I've done. Which one you do is entirely up to you, but while you have it open, you'll also notice that there are little shortcut buttons under the physical keys. Similar to MA, these are the keyboard shortcuts to trigger those buttons. Again, same drill, just try to use those that you find yourself commonly interacting with, and eventually they will commit to memory. The keyboard interaction system on ETC EOS I found is a little bit more user-friendly than on MA. So the programming tends to be a little bit more natural because of the way the buttons are laid out and because of the way the shortcuts are configured. So something to note about this program is that if you were to press a physical key one time, it will add that command to your command line over here. So for instance, if I were to press the group button over here, it adds the group syntax into my command line. But if you were to press the same button 2 times, it would open up a list of all the different groups that you have in the file. So it is a very interesting interaction I find, because double tapping something will give you pretty much all the options that you have. So I'm gonna just go back into the live menu over here, and I'm gonna close the groups tab for now. Okay, you'll notice that one of the 2 windows in EOS has a little yellow outline over it, and this is the window that's in focus. So meaning if I were to try to open a window using my buttons, whichever window is yellow is the window in which that particular display will open up in. So if I were to press my patch address button over here 2 times, my patch window will open on the left over here. So with the patch window open, there are 2 ways that you can patch your devices. One is by channel, the other is by address, and you can toggle between those 2 using the format button. For us, we are going to patch using the channel option, so we will leave that as the active mode. So the patch on ETC EOS is quite straightforward. You do most things in this program using the keyboard. If I want to patch in channel 1, you just press 1 on your keyboard and press enter. That will highlight channel 1 in the patch window, and you can look down here in the CIA, the central information area, and you'll see that if you are in the patch tab over here, there is a type option for you. So what I'm going to do is click on type and look under manufacturer, look for Arten, and in Arten I want to look for Ghibli. Okay, you'll notice that some fixtures are blue while others are white. The difference is if it is blue, it has more than 1 fixture type nested inside. If it's white, then what is there is what you get. Okay, so for Ghibli, we have 3 different types. We're gonna go with the basic, and you can see very neatly that it has been patched for you. We also need to assign an address, and we can do this with the A key on your keyboard. So just press A once, and you will see that the command line now says channel 1 address. We're gonna patch this to universe 2/1, so universe 2 address 1. Hit enter and it will patch in the device for you. If you're trying to do multiple channels at the same time, the idea is still the same. So we're gonna type in 2 T for through 10, enter, and these are all going to be under type. We can just look under show and you'll see the Ghibli basic is visible here already. Just click on this and press A for address, and this is going to be universe 2 address 37. And there we go, all the Ghiblis are now patched. So we want to repeat this process for the auras. So 11 through 20, enter. Under type, we're going to go to manufacturer and look for Martin. There we go. And we want the Mac Aura XB. There we are. And we want the 14 DMX channel version. These are going to be patched in at 3/1. And then we move on to the front of house fixtures, which are 21 to 30. Under type, these are all just going to be your regular dimmer personality. You'll notice the way it lays out your options is quite similar to the MA on PC. So just click on dimmer, and these are going to be at universe 1/21. And there we go. Now we have all 30 of our fixtures patched in. Okay, while you're here, you'll notice that there are some other things that you could possibly mess around with, like your labels and database entries, attributes. These are a little bit more complex, and you can do a lot with them if you know what you're doing. But we're going to skip over those things for now, and we're going to look at building out our stage view. So to build out our stage view, what we want to do is switch over to the augmented window over here. And in the patch window, we also want to toggle over to the augmented window. So we're going to start with channel 1 to 4. So same idea, 1 through 4, enter, and then you see that 1 to 4 get selected. And in here, you will see that once again, we have Cartesian coordinates. Same idea as on MA2 on PC. We want to start with the z-axis first. So we're going to click on this and set them at 7 meters. And you'll see immediately on the augmented view, the light becomes visible. You'll also notice that it looks a fair bit prettier than what you see on MA2 on PC. Age of the program versus what it can do kind of tend to have a very strong correlation. Okay, we want to set them at a Y position of 1, and for the X value, we want to do 4 through -4, and that should space it out for us the way we want it. Then we're going to do 5 through 10, and once again, these are going to be at a Z value of 7, a Y value of 5, and an X value of 6 through -6. Okay, then we move on to the auras, 1 through 20. They're all at a Z value of 7. But we want 11 through 15 to be at a Y value of 3 and an X value of 5 through -5, while we want 16 through 20 to be at a Y value of 7 and an X value of 5 through -5. There we go. Then we move on to the front of house fixtures, starting with 21 to 25. These are at a Z value of 7 and a Y value of -6. They also have an X rotation of 35 degrees. Okay, and then we want 26 to 30. These are also at a Z value of 7. They are at a Y value of -3. And they have an X value of 5 through -5 with an X rotation of 35 degrees. So we want to go back to 21 to 25 and also spread them out to match the rig. Okay, and with that done, we can go back to the live view. So the thing about live and blind on this desk is that it's a theater desk, so it doesn't like to show sudden changes. So anytime you try to change anything that may inflict a sudden change, it switches over to blind mode, and you can identify that it's in the blind mode because everything will have a bit of a blue overshadow, and there will be the word blind on the top left hand corner. So to go back into live, you can either toggle live on your virtual keyboard or just hold function and press F1 to go back to live. Okay, in here, you'll notice that we have our augmented view ready to go, and the controls pretty much work the same way. You can select your fixtures from here at 50 to toggle them on. If you select your moving lights, You can turn them on at 50. You can use the moving light controls to assign a color. I also have one over here. If you need them to point to a specific spot on stage, you can press and hold on a spot and the lights will follow. Point to note again is that the fixtures need to be able to move in order for you to do that. One thing that is different though is jamming the clear button like you would on MA2 or on Evolite won't get you anywhere in EOS. So if I were to jam the clear button, the lights still remain on because it's a theater desk and it wants you to do things intentionally. The way to work around that is to look for the key called sneak, shortcut N. So press sneak, and I'm going to go back over here. You see I have sneak on my command line, and press enter, and everything that hasn't been recorded will be sneaked out. The default sneak time is 5 seconds, and you can change that if you want to. If, however, you want to snap the lights to full, and then you want to snap them out to 0, you can just add 0, enter, and you'll realize what's different is the 0 intensity gets held as an active value, or as ETC calls it, a manual value. Means you can record that into something. Right now this doesn't matter as you're trying to just get comfortable with the program, but if you're trying to record cues, then using sneak versus using at 0 or at out does make a difference because it gives you different recordable values or no values at all. We'll visit that when we eventually get there, but just be mindful for now. To wrap it up, I'm just going to sneak all this out one more time. How to save your show in ETC EOS. If you notice, my file name over here is untitled and it's got a little asterisk on it. It means that there are unsaved changes in my file. So if I want to save this, I will open my central information area, the CIA, and in here you have your typical file explorer options. So I'm just going to click on save as in my show file archive, hit enter, press OK, and it will ask me to name my file. So I'm just going to call this 2025 programming 6. And once it's been saved, you realize that your file name appears here, and there is no longer an asterisk. Okay, so now we can really head over to MA3 on PC. So with Grand MA3 on PC, you'll notice that a lot of steps to patch are very similar to what you do on Grand MA2 on PC. There are some improvements to allow for faster workflows and easier processes. Notably, one key difference is Grand MA3 prefers that you work on screen 1 instead of screen 2. This is actually because of the way the displays are numbered on the desk. Even the command bar, which you normally see on screen 2 for MA2, is now on screen 1. The options to access your different windows and playbacks are now all on your left. So from bottom to the top, we have the screens option over here. So screen 1, the active screen, screen 2, 3, extended 4, extended 5, and the 2 smaller screens on the desk itself. You have your encoder bar controls, you have your playbacks, you have your master section, master controls, and your command section, which is the equivalent of your command overlay in MA2 on PC. You also have your little gear cog over here, which is your setup and backup, now rolled into one button. So what we want to do over here is click on the cog and click on patch to go into your patch and fixture schedule. It's the same drill. It's going to open up in a fixture wizard asking you to pick a fixture to patch in. I'm going to close this for now and look at what we are working with. So there are no more layers, or there are layers but not accessed in the same way as we used to on Red MA2 on PC. So to make things cleaner for me, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first patch in a few grouping fixtures. That will help me sort my patching into a tree structure. So we're gonna click on insert over here, and under generic we're gonna look for grouping right over here, and make sure we pick this guy with default and DMX footprint of nothing. Okay, so 6 groups, one for each layer that I would have. We're gonna call this 1001 and just hit create. So you'll notice I now have my 6 groups over here. What we can do is to quickly relabel them according to the layers. So groups 1 to 4 are going to be LX1. What MA will do is MA will automatically try to renumber the last digit if the way you label is using characters followed by a digit. We'll do the same thing for group 5 and 6. This is going to be FOH1, and we are now ready to start patching. So we're going to expand group 1001, and in here we're going to click to insert a new fixture. We're going to look in the library, and we're going to search this time for Arten Ghibli basic and just hit select. We're just going to call this Ghibli, and it's going to have a quantity of 4, fixture ID 1, patch break is 2.1, and create. There we go, we have our 4 Ghiblis patched in. We'll open up LX2, and in here insert new fixture. Same thing in the library, we're going to look for Martin Aura XB, standard RGB with a footprint of 14. We're going to call this Aura, quantity of 5, fixture ID is 11, patch break is 3.1, and create. There we go. Moving on to LX3, insert new fixture. This time we can just look and show. We want the Ghibli basic, select. We're going to call it Ghibli, quantity of 6, fixture ID 5. Let's leave this in universe 2. And we see the next available address is 145. So we're going to select this and click create. Okay, we can close all of these and move on to LX4, insert new fixture. This is going to be a Martin Aura XP, standard RGB. Press select. It's an Aura. Quantity is 5, fixture ID is 16. And my universe is going to be 371. And create. Okay, now we move on to FOH1 and 2, insert new fixture. This is a dimmer. I haven't patched in a dimmer yet, so we're going to need to look under library and look for generic dimmer mode 0, 1 footprint. This is a source 419. Source 419 degree. Quantity of 5. My fixture ID starts from 26, if I'm not wrong. 1.26. Create. And then we have over here FOH2. We can just select all of these, copy these, click over here and paste these. We just need to renumber them and change the patch to 1.21. It will give you a little subtext there telling you where it was copied from. Nothing you need to worry about if your channel numbers and or fixture IDs in this case and patch numbers are different. You'll also notice while we're on that MA3 hides the channel IDs by default. You can turn them on if you need them, but we don't exactly need them in this particular application. So just going to leave them the way they are. So with that done, we can close these guys and close this and save and exit to go back to our screen 1. In here, the idea is the same. If I were to click somewhere over here and say I want to open up my clock, my favorite window, it will open up to wherever you click to. You can move it around and resize it if you need it, or you can just click all the way in the top left hand corner to open the window to the largest size. I'm going to go with a 3D viewer over here. You'll notice immediately that this 3D looks a fair bit better than what we saw on MA2. More on that later. But I'm going to store this into my shortcuts over here. I have a 3D here, so I can store it over here. One handy feature that MA3 provides you is you can press and hold to trigger the store command. And this is my internal screen 1. This is going to be called 3D. Just press OK to override it. So now if I were to click an empty view screen shortcut and click on 3D again, it will open to the correct window that I wanted to have for the 3D. Something that I find odd about MA3 is because of how you can resize its screens, the default view screens don't really open in a very ideal way. So you can benefit from going into resize and restore those windows in a way that would work better for you. So with that done, I'm gonna go back into my patch settings, and in here we're gonna do our Cartesian coordinates for the lights. If you look on the top right hand corner, we have a columns button. This can toggle to full or condensed, and if you are in the full view, you can see that there are position and rotation coordinates for you to input in. Very similar to what we've done in the other two programs. So we're going to look at LX1 first, and we're going to start with the coordinates Z first. So a Z value of 7, a Y value of 1, and an X value of 4 through -4. Again, remember to use the +/- key if you're trying to specify a negative value. Hit please. And we're going to close this, go over to LX2 and just repeat the process all over again. Z value of 7, Y value of 3, and an X value of 5 through -5. We're going to go over to LX3 with a Z value of 7, a Y value of 5, and an X value of 5 through -5. LX4, same thing, Z value of 7, Y value of 7 again, and X value of -5 through 5. I think this was meant to be 6 through -6. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay, then we move on to LX4, also good. FOH1, okay, Z value of 7, Y value of -3. These are 5 through -5. And FOH2 with the Z value of 7, a Y value of -6, and an X value of 5 through -5. So with all that sorted, we can close the patch window, save and exit, and we are back in a stage view, ready to go. You can turn them all on. Be sure to turn on the shortcuts button over here if you want to use the shortcuts. That doesn't look right. Okay, it looks like my MX3 got a little wonky. So let's just go back in and fix that. There we go. It's supposed to be a Y value of MX3 is a Y value of 5. X value is supposed to be 6 through minus 6. There we go. Yeah, that looks about right. So we need to go back in and tilt FOH 1 and 2. So we're gonna go in and rotate the X value to 35. And same thing over here, 35. So that should fix things for me. Yeah. So messing around with this stage view, you realize that it's a fair bit cooler than what you have with MA2 on PC and closer to what you see on ETC EOS's Augmented. The general functions are the same. You can use your command bar over here to control the lights. So you can click on color to mess around with your colors, or you can open up a special dialog color picker to pick the colors a little bit more precisely. You can use the encoders over here, something that I particularly like. You can mouse over the values here to tilt and pan your fixtures. This was only possible on screen 1 of Grand MA2 on PC. So if you are like me working off screen 2, you would have to switch back to screen 1 whenever you wanted to do this. This is a nice little addition. And one other thing is, if you want the follow command, you have the crosshair button over here. You need to press and hold on stage to get the lights to point to that particular position. But on the whole, a relatively similar yet improved way to interact with your lights. So I'm just gonna clear all this, and that pretty much wraps up MA3 on PC stage view. So that should put you in a place where you can compare and contrast what the 3 different programs offer you. And it should also put you in a place where you can see how they are similar yet different. Okay, so I'm back. I realized I forgot again to show you how to save. Seems to be something that I keep doing repeatedly. It might foreshadow a bit into my own programming habits. So saving in Grand MA3 is similar to Grand MA2, but they've now merged the backup and setup buttons together. So you want to click on the gear cog over here and click on backup, and make sure you toggle to the correct drive and save as. So I'm going to call this 2025 programming basics and hit enter, and then OK to save. If you have a different drive connected to your computer, you can toggle that from here, and you can also toggle to the different versions of Grand MA3 if you need to try to load an older file, or if for some reason you're trying to jump between versions. With that, we have a lighting plan patched into 3 different programming software. Feel free to explore and see what else you can do with these programs. But bear in mind that what we've covered in this video is just a very basic introduction into what you can do with the programs. Building a good foundation with these programs is a good way to start, because if you mess up how you start, what comes later on could very quickly get very messy. And it's important that you learn the right thing or the right steps to get started. We can dive deeper into what each system can do more in videos up ahead, but I hope that was a good teaser for you. Okay, so see you in the next one.